Hello, welcome. We're back. This is it, episode 8 of the Let's Start a Cult podcast. I'm Kev Feasy, and this is
Matt Stevens,
as always. And we've made it as far as the Euphoric, our third album, Matt.
Yeah. So this one, this was we did the Magnet. So we've been playing this material live, hadn't we?
We had, yeah.
Majority of it.
This is an album of two halves, I'd say.
So we had like a load of tracks that we've been playing live, hadn't we? Mm-hmm. Which is on the live USA 17 and the live field recordings ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's all those ones, mm-hmm. and then there's the ones that we sort of had all the bits for, and we sort of put them together as we worked, weren't there? So
that's right.
Is like,
yeah.
The Euphoric, Dugtown, Cadet Opal, and Verbose, isn't it?
That's right.
Sorry, not Verbose, 48K, sorry. So we had 4 that we'd sort of put together as studio tracks, hadn't we?
Yeah, well, there was a concept behind it all, and I think as we go through, we've got such good memories of this because it was less than 3 years ago that we can actually remember a lot of this. So yeah, we'll get to it. I'm interested though, Matt. What have you actually been doing this week? Before we get onto the album itself, I want to catch up.
I've been listening to lots of music and trying to finish those demos for the new stuff, and basically trying to make I did a load of I got all the Eventide H9 out, and I loaded loads of new sounds into them. So I've got but if you listen, one of the things if you listen to the Euphoric, there's not a lot of modulation guitar sounds. There's not a lot of phases or flanges, or it's not a lot of. There's lots of delays, and there's lots of sort of massive reverbs, but there's not a lot of modulation. So there's been a lot of messing about with that because the next record I want to really explore a load more of that sort of sound, and sort of blurring the difference between synthesizer sounds and guitar sounds. Yes. So people, will hear something, they won't know necessarily what the thing triggering the sound was, whether it was a guitar or a synth. So more of that sort of thing, really.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've learned actually how to use effects a lot better now, and learn how to see, the shape of waveforms and how to cut them up, and how to use effects to really get those sort of sounds. And whereas before I was sort of floundering around, I kind of know my gear a lot better now. So
yeah.
What have you been up to, Kev?
Pretty much the same, Matt. As you know, we've been working on demos. We've been having to do it remotely because of the event, which is, I think we've spoken about it in the last couple of podcasts, is quite a different way of working for us, but a very interesting one, because I think it's actually given us time to work individually on our sounds, on our, how it all fits together. And exactly as you said, I think we're being maybe a bit braver with the sort of the sonic palette. Well,
if you look at, let's say, going back to the Euphoric, if you look at the songs that we wrote specifically for it, so stuff like the Euphoric, Dugtown, Cadet Opal, that's probably the 3 songs that pointed more to where we're going next, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
With the more synths and the more, the lots of different sounds. I even found a chorus sound I found like this week, and chorus pedals are notorious for being difficult to find good sounds with. But it's like anything. If you a lot of the time with us, it's making it so the effects sound less perfect.
Yes.
So they have to sound quite like, if you can have a really nice 80s chorus, but if you put it through a 1950s broken sort of tape echo and then put loads of vibrato on it, you can get away with it.
You got something interesting.
Yeah, because that's the thing with Fist of the Dead. It's quite hard to get the sounds to fit. It's a really weird band because there's a sonic sort of palette to it, isn't there?
We've never really had a trademark sound, I'd say. We've constantly sort of been changing equipment and trying different things, and to be honest with you, a lot of it is because we have the attention span of a gnat. So musically, the things we're listening to, I mean, it's interesting that we're talking about modulation. I'm sure this is fascinating for all the non-guitar nerds out there, but because, I mean, for those who know, things like flanges and chorus pedals and things like that were tainted for quite a long time. They were really, I don't know, it became so synonymous with like overproduced kind of that, I don't know, it was very much a studio effect,
Well, it was always, when we were kids, chorus was seen as something massively naff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we grew up in the, end of the 80s into the early 90s when we got into music, and those chorus sounds were seen as really sort of cheesy and embarrassing, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean there was a kind of like some reclamation of it. People like Kurt Cobain, when they started, I don't know if people kind of, maybe some young people don't know about it, but a lot of the effects pedals now that are kind of canonized, when we were just the tail end of it, but a lot of the hair metal kind of bands in the 80s and all this kind of stuff wiped all that out. So it was, you could get like a big muff, like a 70s big muff for almost nothing in a second-hand store. And I think that's where a lot of that kind of the Nirvana and the grunge kind of thing came from, was these, as always, these movements start, don't they? People picking up cheap equipment. That's just what they could get their hands on. And then because they started using it, it then became, oh, wow, this is classic stuff again, And it's weird, isn't it, how these things go around?
It's like Tame Impala used all those romplers from the 90s that people couldn't give away.
Yes.
And, and now, wow, I'd really love to have one of those classic Tame Impala romplers that, people were used to use at school or in old colleges and thrown to skips.
Yeah.
And now they're highly collectible, synthesizer modules. And so if you listen to like Tame Impala, they've reclaimed like a lot of these sort of sounds. Like chorus was really naff at one point, wasn't it?
It was really naff.
So in the 90s, you'd hear Phaser on a Radiohead record, but you very rarely heard chorus.
Yeah,
and and chorus was. I mean, there's a lot of the shoegazy bands use chorus, don't they? And so like Slow Dive do amazing things with chorus.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those, and I actually, we were talking about Def Leppard the other day with Photograph.
Yes, yeah.
There's a jangly guitar part on Photograph that sounds fantastic, and if you've never heard Jason Faulkner's from Jellyfish's version of that song, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
But it's a lot of these things. It's oversaturation and context. But I suppose one of the interesting things about the moment is that you don't really get oversaturation because really there's no real mainstream. There's no constant. Yeah. There is innovation, but in terms, I think sonically innovation, like we were saying just before we started talking, is most of it's coming from hip hop and pop music, isn't it? Rather than rock music.
It's funny you should say that actually, because you're talking about Tame Impala, because you've got bands like Tame Impala and Pond, who they all kind of started out as psych rock bands, if you want to call it that. But if you actually listen to, a lot of their interviews and talk, how they're talking about, their influences and bands they were into, and a lot of it is hip hop, and a lot of it is older, some of the 90s, like R&B and stuff like this. I mean, I've a year or so ago, I was out and about in central London in one of those hipster kind of areas, and they were just playing 90s R&B all night, which to me was like the stuff that I used to go, oh my god, it's on top of the pops, turn it off,
But it's classic now, isn't it?
But now it's classic, and so those rompler sounds, they came again. I think it's because it was equipment that was like state of the art. Then it became cheap as chips because people had moved on. The next thing was the big thing. Then you've got a load of musicians. In this case, it was normally like the hip hop guys, the guys building beats and all this kind of stuff. They start using it again. And then that then influences bands like Tame Impala, who incorporate it into psychedelic rock. And I think that's amazing. That's marvellous, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you listen to all the, because there was the synthwave thing, wasn't there?
Yes, yeah.
About sort of 3 or 4 years ago. And then there was the vaporwave. Yeah. Which was basically all the synthwave stuff and all the rompler stuff stuck through loads of chorus and loads of vibrato, isn't it?
Exactly that.
And tape, and like there's like that tape, distorted sort of tape saturation sound, isn't there?
Yeah.
But that goes back to Boards Canada, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Again,
they were the first people I really heard do that VHS sort of sound.
Yeah. I think it's people using cheap equipment because that's all they've got. And that's. It's a funny thing. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Brian Eno who said it's the imperfections that people kind of remember, the things that people stick in their mind. So he said, the old 1920s blues singer, the way his voice cracks, he's not an opera singer, he's not, and then, the way vinyl records had like that scratchy kind of, quality to them. The way that the electric guitar, it wasn't supposed to distort. That was an error, and then that got used. And then I remember when I started my studio, digital clicks were the worst thing in the world. Absolutely. You were always on the lookout for anything like peaking, because on a tape player, if you peak, it distorts, and sometimes that's quite a nice thing. On a digital recorder, it clips, and you get that clicking sound. However, now that clicking sound has been totally incorporated, and is now a thing. And I think he's right. Just give these things time, and any imperfections become the new thing.
Well, I think there's a magic to that. That suit, those things being slightly skew with and slightly messy and stuff. I think there's always a magic to that. But I think we're living in a sort of, in terms of pop music. Yeah. It's a really weird. I mean, listening to, I do tend to try and listen to different bits coming out, and what I tend to hear is the detail in the arrangements is incredible at the moment.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
But the chord progressions aren't very exciting. So
yes,
I've been going back and listening to XTC, and the chord progressions on that are amazing, and the arrangements are really cool. But if you listen to like a lot of contemporary hip hop stuff, there's loads of like detail in the arrangement, and like the way they'll filter things to one line.
Sound design is amazing.
Yeah, sound design. That's probably a better way of putting it, actually, Kev. Yeah, sound design in that. And one of the things I really noticed recently is that like, they'll do things where the entire backing track is really middly and really sort of, but it's to emphasise the vocal track.
Yeah,
and I never really, hip hop's really moved in, and like contemporary pop scene's really moved on in the last few years.
Oh yeah, massively.
And there's lots of, I think, if I was probably a young person coming into that, that'd be the area I'd probably be interested in.
Yeah. I mean, you heard it here first, guys. Basically, the next Fierce and Dead album is going to be XTC, but with rap.
Meets Drake. Yeah,
meets Drake. Yeah, XTC meets Drake.
XTC fused with Drake.
Yeah.
But I think one of the good things is, because we've been playing in bands together for so long, we have. I know you say we haven't got a sound, but I think that with the sound we've got is that we've been playing together since we were at school. So when we're about 25 years really. So we're a school band basically.
Yeah, and that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah,
it's only us and Radiohead that are still going as school bands. It's true, they were a school band as well, weren't they?
Make what you will of that.
Yeah, well, I think they were slightly more successful. But what I'm saying is, I think because, we'll try different things, and I think, we're always continuing, we're not just going to suddenly start doing something completely different, because that's just the way we play.
Yeah.
But we'll always take in the influences and try and learn, and hopefully we're not arrogant enough to think we know everything.
No, absolutely.
If anything, I think as I've got older, I think I probably know less than I thought I did 20 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'd quantify it as that we're lucky enough that we're not good enough. So that even to copy it. It's I mean, we've had experiences before, haven't we? Both of us, Matt. I've worked with a lot of absolutely amazing session players. Who you hire because you want that guy, you want that sound, that's what you want. And I've also worked with a lot of session players they come in to be whatever you want them to be, which again I could not do that. That to me is one of the hardest things musically to do, is to be that kind of chameleon. However, I mean, on the Fierce and the Dead stuff, we've worked with Terry Edwards, who's very well known session musician in the music world. But you get Terry, Terry brings something to the table, and that's what I want. Some people don't want that; they want somebody who can confidently play something, and there you go. I mean, there's quite a few bands out there at the minute who have a revolving lineup of various name musicians. I don't know if you'd call them session musicians or not. I don't know.
Wolfpack.
Yeah, Wolfpack, people like that. Yeah, but they've got so much character in them, you know. And I couldn't do that, but yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's all very interesting.
I think for me, if I'm, you know, it's a weird time because a lot of time when people are recording at home, they can sort of blag a bit of everything and probably make most of the record at home. So when they're getting session players in now, they tend to want people who are sort of character musicians, you know what I mean? So someone who's going to add something to it. So, you know, who isn't just going to... Because most people can sort of program the sounds they want to a certain level, can't they?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And most of the time when I've done sessions, it's not been like a case of, you know, it's just been a case of just do your thing here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm there's a lot of better people just to come in and play a part than I am.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do like doing sessions. I haven't got a lot of time to do it at the moment, but I do like doing it. But it's just more of a case that if you want me to come and track all the guitar parts for a record, I'm going to struggle to get that done as competently as a lot of other people. Yeah. But if you want me to make an interesting noise, and it's only going to take me a few hours to do it, that's probably going to be all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Nice.
You know,
all interesting stuff, Matt. All interesting stuff. Well,
should we talk about Euphoric?
Well, let's talk about Euphoric, because I mean, some of this, you know, is kind of some of this conversation is kind of relevant to it. So, as we were saying, I hope everybody's up to date with the story. But some of you may notice that we've approached each record with some kind of idea, you know, vague idea of how we're going to do it, and every time we've ended up either by, you know, by design or by chance, we've ended up doing it in a different way, you know, the way we've had to work. Now, with Euphoric, as Matt was saying, half the album we'd already got. It was road tested. We'd been playing it for quite a while. We kind of knew what we wanted to sound like. We'd got a lot of other bits, and we weren't struggling. We could have basically said, right, let's, you know, spend more time and, you know, work on these arrangements and put them on the road for a while and all this kind of stuff. But we actually made a decision, which was to go back to the way of working that we did with Morecambe. And so the other half of the album, which, as Matt said, you know, Euphoric, Dugtown, Cadet Opal, 48K, we decided to get the bits that we had and take it into the studio and just work on it there, you know, not have it finished, to actually, you know, see what happened in the studio. And so you kind of got it's not an album of two halves, because I think it actually all sits together very well, you know. One of the most significant differences, and I'd be fascinated to know if anybody actually can kind of tell this, but the half of the album that was locked down, that's Truck 91, Dancing Robots, Verbose, and Part 7 and 8, all the drum tracks for those were recorded up at Livingston Studios, where we'd recorded Morecambe, over a couple of days, and the rest of the album was recorded at Strong Room. So it was two different setups that we used, but I think it all sits together quite well. I mean, what do you think?
It's definitely it's got more of a it's all got very similar sort of sound, doesn't it? But you use didn't you use like different drum kits for different things and stuff like that?
So the well, let's start at the beginning. But this is kind
I can't really remember, because I you know, some of the drum tracking I wasn't there for, so
yeah.
You know, it's a lot of the time if they're tracking drums, I don't need to be there. So I mean, it's like, I really do. You know,
no, absolutely.
I might come in and make some photos and make some little videos for social media stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't need to be there. I don't need to be. You don't need me hanging around. It's not like I'm doing anything useful, is it? To be honest.
Well, I think in this case it was the drums we recorded at Livingston were pretty much locked down, give or take a few performance kind of details. So we decided to be fancy. So what we did, this is the thing that, you know, Stuart had never really had the opportunity to have this experience. Obviously I'd worked on quite a lot of albums, you know, big, small, you know, whatever. And I really wanted to really work on the sounds and not just limit ourselves to this is what we've got. So the snare's going to sound like this, give or take, depending on how we tune it. So we rented loads of equipment, loads of cymbals, loads of snares, and we had a couple of kits, Stuart's main kit, and also he's got a little surf rock kit that we had set up as well. And then the first day that we was in Livingston, we didn't do any recording at all. We have a friend, Phil Wilkinson, who's an amazing drummer. I think he's currently not doing anything because none of us are. But I think he's been with Sophie Ellis Bextor as a live drummer, and he's played with loads of people. But he's a man who knows what he's doing with drums. Let's say that. So he came in kind of almost as a drum consultant for us. And it was hog heaven, I think, basically the best way to put it. We had the studio to ourselves, we set it up, we set the kit up, and we just spent an entire day trying out different snares, tuning them differently, discussing each track, how we wanted it to sound, what sort of, even down to like which cymbals were where, all these kind of like little details that we'd never had the opportunity to really do before, because usually it was like, quick, get it done. And whatever you got on that day, that's what you'd got. So that's what we were doing while you weren't there, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, because how many days did you get? 2 days or 3 days or 4 days?
We had 4 days in there, yeah.
4 days to the drums. So I think you got 6 tracks worth of drums there, didn't you?
We did, yeah. And we really took our time, and it was, I mean, those bat-eared listeners out there might notice, for example, on a track like 1991, there's, I think, 3 different drum setups on that track. So we had, as the drums come in, it's I wanted quite a drum machiney kind of sound. So we made the drums very dead, very snappy. Brought the room mics down, all this kind of stuff, brought them in closer and everything. And then when it hits to the I don't know what you call it, the chorus where the distorted guitars come in first, all of a sudden it kicks into a different drum kit. So these were all recorded in parts and then put together, as it were. I mean, obviously when we play live, it's not a problem, but I just wanted all these access to different sounds, because it really changes, how everything works. And we're not a blues rock band. We're not a band that you just, in the studio anyway, that you can just sort of like mic the amps up and everything and away you go. We can do that for live. That's fine. But for the studio, we do like mucking around with sounds, don't we?
I think as well, because we're instrumental, the sounds have to be interesting. I think that's something we learned from Spooky Action, that we wanted to multi-layer the sounds and keep them really interesting. I think we couldn't just keep making records by banging them out. We have to keep trying different things, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And it it makes it interesting for us. It makes us think as well. I think there's always 2 ways of writing things. There's the sitting down with an acoustic guitar, playing some chords and working out a melody way. And then I think there's the sitting down in front of loads of effects, synthesizers, whatever you want to call it, and letting the sound, kind of guide you. Whenever I think of that kind of thing, I think of examples like WAND by Flaming Lips. Down, 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 down. I mean, that guitar sound, when it comes in, I don't know how they wrote that song. I don't know how it's put together, but it's such a distinctive guitar sound,
Yeah, I really like the sound design on their record. It's really cool. Yeah,
and I think sometimes that I feel like, I could be wrong. If anybody knows Wayne Coyne, could they ask him? I feel like sometimes they're kind of a good balance between sound design and songwriting.
Stephen Droyst is the sound dude, isn't he? He's a super talent. I think Droy. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, I've got no idea. But let's say Droy.
But they're the kind of the sound design. I think he's like a really good musician. Yeah, and Wayne Coyne's a really good ideas person. So they're a really useful combination of people, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And we tried to sort of do something like relatively similar. We knew there weren't going to be any vocals on this album. It's never something that we've said, we're definitely never going to have vocals, or, but it just happened. These are the songs that we've got and they didn't have vocals on them. So from a recording point of view, that gives you a lot of freedom. So when you've got a voice, that's 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the star. You're going to base everything around the sound of the singer, you know, and even down to the drum sound, the guitar sounds, everything is going to be there to highlight the vocal melody, you know. But
yeah, because you don't want the frequencies to clash, do you?
Exactly, you know, and that's going to be the star. Whereas in an instrumental band, you know, it could be the drums, it could be this, it could be that. And we'd made the decision with this album that we really wanted the drums to be quite strong. And by that, I didn't mean that I wanted, you know, classic rock drum sound or anything like that. I wanted interesting drum sound. So, you know, I'm quite a fan of the deeper tuned snares and things like this, less of the sort of like the cracky kind of, I always think of it as the Chili Peppers kind of snare. I'm not even sure if Chili Peppers snare is like that, but I always think of it like that. I wanted something a bit more darker and a bit more older sounding, you know, a bit more, you know, recorded in the attic. You know, I don't know. Did we manage it?
I really like the drum sound on it. I think it sounds really interesting. I think because the guitars are slightly more. I mean, the guitar sound on Euphoric is quite different to the sounds on Spooky Action, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Well, I think we base it. It's a little bit more metal, isn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit more sort of stoner rock than the sounds on Spooky, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we'd been writing stuff. I mean, the pre-written tracks, I think, because they'd been road tested, and in a way because we'd been playing festivals and things, they were kind of written, you know, in that state of mind. So, you know, something like Truck, you know, it's a big riff. That's what the whole track is about, is the big riff, you know. So that's how that went.
I think, you know, there's the whole thing of having those, you know, we had those riffs, but most the six songs that were, you know, that we'd road tested were basically, we had all the bits and we kind of wrote them in band practice, didn't we?
That's right. Yeah.
So, and that's why it took, you know, from. I mean, although we wrote Magnet and Palm Trees, you know, before that,
yeah,
it took a long time to write those songs because the way we wrote them, the way we put them together in band practice, and that's a really, I mean, I don't know if anyone plays in bands and stuff, but that's a really slow way to write, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and because we're not, you know, we're not out on the road, you know, 300 nights a year. You know, moving on from Truck, the next track, 1991, we'd had that for quite a while, and we'd actually played it in several different incarnations. And that was a track, you know, okay, we've got it this far, we played it at a gig, and then after you go, it didn't quite feel right, there's something not right about it. So then it'd be back, rehearsal room, you know, tweaking it. But, you know, it's again, as you said, that's quite a slow process, you know, to just, because you're basically using the stage to try and work out what's working and what's not, you know.
Well, yeah, we were playing 1991 at the start of 2016.
I think the first time we played HRH.
HRH Prague.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we played it live.
There, we did 1991. We did a load of that stuff.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Just because we were testing it out.
Yeah,
and we didn't do 1991. We did 1991 before we did Rambling Man and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Rambling Man, it was just to happen we liked those riffs, you know, those songs best. So
yeah,
yeah, you know, it's a lot of that stuff. Because we're making another record at the moment, and we're not working like that at all. We're all doing stuff at home into our laptops and sharing the files.
Yeah,
which is how most modern bands, you know. I was talking to, you know, I talked to a lot of people, like my mates who are in bands and stuff, and most of them is how they make records is like that, you know what I mean? Like, and that's just the way it is. You know, we've never done that, really, have we?
No, exactly. Well, I mean, I always call it the you know, the old way of doing things is I call it the Fleetwood Mac style. Where, I mean, can you imagine going into you know, a top world class studio, having it booked for 6 months, however long, and having no songs? You know, maybe a few ideas. You know, a lot of these bands back in the 70s and even the 80s, they went into the studio without any songs. They wrote and recorded at the same time, you know, which is just, you know, mind-blowing now. I mean, we were very lucky to still get to use studios like Livingston and, you know, Strong Room and things like this. But I mean, realistically, you know, most small bands, it's completely out of their budget. There's no way.
I think the key to making good records is to not repeat. I mean, all three of our albums done differently. So the first one was basically we went into the studio for 2 days and improvised, mostly around a few themes.
Yeah.
The second one we had all rehearsed.
Yeah.
I went into the studio for 4 days and just basically played it live.
Yeah.
This one was put together over the process of 2.5 years.
Yeah, sounds about right, yeah.
Basically. And then, various sessions. So we had the sessions at Livingston where we did drums. We had the sessions at Strong Room. We had some of the guitars at our rehearsal place, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we did the keyboards at your house, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
And I programmed some of the keyboards at my house, didn't I?
That's right, yeah.
So we had, but mostly it was done, piece by piece, layered, which was it was different to Spooky Action, different to Morecambe again. So, and then this one, stuff like the Euphoric was done. I had the bits for it, and I was sending you the melody line and stuff, weren't I?
That's right. Yeah. We had, we'd built some kind of demo, some kind of rough structure to the Euphoric, and that's what we went to the studio. And then basically it was down to Stuart to sort of experiment with it. So we literally just let him go through the track, 3 or 4 times, and then that kind of suggested some of the arrangement.
And that's kind of evolved into the approach we're using now.
Yes.
Where, all 4 of us have got laptops and we've all got recording setups at home.
Yeah.
And we can basically send each other demos,
yes.
which is a far more advanced version of that. Whereas before I was just, I had a laptop.
Yeah.
And I sent you the MIDI.
That's right, yeah.
And then you basically put the track together, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm gonna pause on the Euphoric actually, because this is a thing that nobody ever gets this with us. In all the reviews and all the conversation we've had, I can't really talk too much for Steve and Stuart, but myself and Matt are massive fans of John Carpenter's music. And the Euphoric, the original demo that Matt sent me, was basically like it was an outtake from Escape from New York. It was all synths.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then we basically, we took the melody, we took the chords and everything, and then transposed onto guitar. We still kept the synth in there. But yeah, to me, every time I hear that track, I'm imagining Snake Plissken trying to, run across the the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever bridge it was, But nobody's ever guessed that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I think people say sort of synth waves and synth waves kind of from John Carpenter and stuff. It's so like stuff like Carpenter Brute and stuff like that, isn't it? So one of the other things on this album as well was the first time we changed from when we did Spooky Action, we were using E tuning and on one song drop D.
That's right.
And then the tunings we used on this album were drop B and drop C and drop C sharp mostly.
That's right. Which I think we explained last time. That's not dropping the entire guitar. That's keeping everything in standard tuning except for your low E, which you'll drop into B, C, or C sharp.
That's right. So you keep so it's Easter bunnies get drunk at B. So, at birthdays. Easter bunnies get drunk at birthdays.
Yeah.
We're just detuning the lowest string to B, C, C sharp, or I don't think there's anything in D in this one. There's one song in E.
Yeah.
Which is the 48K.
That's right, yeah.
Which is a tribute to Acid Rain and 80s thrash.
Damn right.
Then it goes all St Vincent in the middle, doesn't it?
Yeah. Again,
all Roxy music.
Yeah. That's that melody in 48K after the galloping old school metal bit is we were thinking of St Vincent. That kind of slightly. There's a sort of like slight sort of I don't know what the word is, winsome kind of kind of feeling to it, and I just love the juxtaposition of that kind of quite pretty melody against this old Acid Rain kind of galloping riff. I think that's great.
I love all that sort of noise records, Acid Rain, Celtic Frost. I love all the Voivod, and that's a big thing for me. So
yeah,
I had that riff and then the other riff, and I think that's another one we recorded a demo. I don't think we ever played that together, did we?
No, we'd never actually played that together. That was all put together as demos.
So should we go through it track by track now? We've established a background.
Why not?
So Truck was one we had. We had that middle riff of it, and I was trying trying to get that middle riff in, claw that into something for ages, wasn't it?
We had it for years. I think probably for 2 years.
And you said you were like, oh, it's just too stoner rock. It's too, and like,
yeah.
So then we had all the other bits, and then put that riff in, and then made the big riff in the middle, didn't we?
That's right. Yeah, and it all just it was one of those kind of moments where everybody just went, let's put those two together.
Yeah. So then we had the sort of the chugging bit at the start, and then that was one of the first times we had the big delay sound, the big echo delay in the middle, which I really liked.
Yeah.
But that's I think that's one of those songs. I think we've played at every gig since we did it in 2016. So
yeah,
just because it works really well live, and
it's so much fun to play.
Yeah, it's that big riffs are always fun, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we go on to 1991?
Now this is still one of my favourite tracks of ours. I love playing this live. I love that it's really dynamic. In my head, the bass line I'm playing at the beginning, which is a bass line you came up with over the main sort of melody and chords, is very Radiohead. It's very very Colin. So that's in my head. That's what I'm doing.
Well, Colin Greenwood's one of the great underrated bass players.
That's amazing.
He's phenomenal bass player. I'm a big
really
fan.
Good. Yeah.
And him and Phil Selway as well. Fantastic drummer. Really, I love that rhythm section. I think that's the thing about Radiohead is that I think they sound so good is because they've been playing together for 35 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or 30 years. They've been playing together since, it's 2020 and they've been, 35 years. They've been playing together since the mid-80s. So, and they've just really locked in. And there's a magic to people who've been playing together a long time.
Yeah.
There's a real, there's something special about that. And I think, that's why they sound so good. So, and that bass line always reminds you of the Magic Roundabout. So,
yeah. I never thought of it. Now that's all I'm going to hear now. Radio's gone now. Now I'm on to Magic Roundabout. Yeah, it's still one of my favourites. Really dynamic. And 1991 as well, one of the things about that track is I think it's a really good example, and Truck as well, of how we were kind of getting used to bigger stages. And I think sometimes even subconsciously in your mind, you're kind of thinking bigger, as it were. And I think like the end of 1991 and Truck for that matter, there's a real sense of like, the audience in mind, I think in a good way, not in a sort of pandering way, but that kind of, live experience of like making something really big and powerful.
I think there's that big echoey part in the middle, isn't there? Where it's that, and that's kind of a big. I think that's one of the things we learned doing Rosfest, and that was playing on a big stage. You need some bigger sounds, and then also conversely to leave some sort of space as well for those sounds. So, like I remember you saying to me that everything can't be big.
Yes, exactly.
You can have, and so. We made space in the arrangements for the big echoey sounds, didn't we?
That's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of the guitar sounds on this were obviously recorded in different ways, different places, but we used not just on this track, on the whole of the album, we were using. I think it was a Mesa Boogie combo amp. I can't remember which one it was that we borrowed from a friend, and then we also had the Red Bear, which we've spoken about before. And then kind of other bits and bobs. And, I think this track, just straight out. We also worked out as well that sometimes less gain sounds heavier.
Yeah, we didn't work that one out before.
We were still in the old school thrash of like, put 2 distortion pedals on it. It's still not enough.
More better, isn't it?
It's more better, isn't it?
So, so that's 1991. So the Euphoric...
Yeah, again, as we just said a minute ago, this was really, it came from your demo, which was you mucking around with synths, and you'd come up with this really, cool John Carpenter-esque kind of slowly building track. You sent it over to me. I think I put some sort of drum loop on it or something like that. And then I put like bass on it and a few other bits and bobs. And I think we just tried to sort of like, keep that, I hate the word, but kind of keep that groove going in it. It had a real sort of little bounce to it. So it's funny the things that come to mind, but the intro section, the bass on the intro section there has a slight sort of, it's not just a straight downstroke. I remember I played it with my thumb, and in my head I had Larry Graham.
Larry Grayson?
Larry Grayson.
Larry Graham from Sly and the Family...
Larry Grayson from Sly and the Family Stone, yeah. If well, that's just ruined that song for me now. But the Sly and the Family Stone song, If You Want Me to Stay, go and have a listen to that. And the way it's a straight beat, but it's got this little swing to it. And I was aware that, with a track like Euphoric, that I didn't want it to sound too tonic, for want of a better word. And I think that, you got that melody, and you'd spent time getting that real Boards of Canada kind of lead sound. And then Stuart came up with this really cool, krautrocky kind of beat underneath it. And it just sort of all worked. And then we down-tuned loads of guitars and multi-tracked the hell out of them.
I think that one's got the lowest tune. That's tuned down to A flat on that one.
Yeah. That was so much fun.
I remember when Steve had to play that live, he had to tune down to A flat, which was it's quite difficult on a normal guitar.
It is, yeah.
It's like a proper baritone tune.
Yeah.
So
I remember recording that in Strong Room, and we had myself, you was there, a couple of other people were there. I think obviously Steve was there, and you recorded the guitars. I remember we just kept multi-tracking the really heavy bit and just trying different distortion pedals. And somebody really kindly made us a Fuzz War clone, and we used that quite a lot as well. And then it was just like, yeah, it's not filthy enough. Put more on. So in that case, more was better. It's more better.
More better, isn't it? Right. So Dancing Robots was another one. It's in Drop C that we've been playing. We did that at Rambling Man. We did that at Rosfest.
Yeah.
That's another one of those songs that we'd really sort of learn, and that's got that sort of. I mean, it's in a major key, which is a lot of the time you hear a lot of you don't hear a lot in major keys, but it's C major.
Yeah.
And then it's got a big riff at the end that sounds like it always reminds me like Masters Reality, and who I was really into for a while, and I'm still really into now. A great band, but you know what I mean. It's got that sort of down-tuned riffing sort of thing to it, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, there was a review that said that little riff that those of you who've heard the song will know the riff we mean. Down, 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 down was quite a Rage Against the Machine riff, which it is, but it was nowhere in our mind that we, as you said, Matt, when you came up with that, we was thinking sort of Masters of Reality kind of stuff, weren't we?
Definitely, yeah. Masters of Reality was my main sort of throwback on that one.
And that's another interesting one as well. When we was talking earlier about how sounds kind of dictate things. So you and Steve are in C sharp?
We're in C.
You're in C for that one. I'm actually in standard tuning on the bass. I'm in just EADG. But I'm using a distortion pedal by Zvex called the Mastertron, which has this wonderful little switch on it. It has a sub switch. And yeah, it's really nasty. And when we were kind of coming up with it, everything else was quite busy, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to make something busy. So it ended up just being like literally like two notes. But using that Mastertron, it's like a distorted tuba, and it really kind of sets the tone for it, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely got that sort of it's a massive sound, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Because the guitars on that go between being quite just like little jangly, Osric-y, and then they go into a big heavy bit in the middle, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's got a bit of space. I think one of the things, because sometimes you use really thin sounds, it gives the bass a lot of room, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah, Dancing Robots, I mean, that's still a track we play, all the time, and it's,
I like that one.
It's always a live favourite. Now, the next one, Dugtown. This is, again, one of the ones that we put together in the studio. We had lots of bits for it, and it kind of came together, as Frank Zappa said, in the shrink wrap. And we've only ever played it a couple of times live.
It's the quite difficult one to get to work live, and I mean it doesn't. I think that's probably the one that we perhaps if we had sort of played it live. It's the trouble with it is it really needs a 5-piece band to play it.
Yes.
because it's got the keyboard part at the start.
Yeah.
And when I came up with the initial riff for it, I was thinking of Epic by Faith No More, like Big Ship Cardiacs.
Yeah.
Is This the Life by Cardiacs? It's that kind of big anthemic rock song.
Yeah.
But not an Epic by Faith No More was probably the, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And with those intro keyboard chords. But I still really like it. I don't think we quite got.
Yeah.
I don't think we quite got it in the studio, did we?
No, we haven't quite cracked that one. I mean, it's funny enough, a lot of people, it's their favourite track on the album.
I had a message from someone the other day saying how much they loved it, and I really like it.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we quite got it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
I think it's got the melody's really good. I just don't know if we got the arrangement right or.
Don't know.
I like it when it comes back in. There's both those two melodies at the end as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. It's just something it
didn't quite get our finger on it, did we?
We didn't. No. So that for me is one of the ones that every time I listen back to it, I enjoy it. But I'm quite critical
I'm really
on
pleased.
that one.
I think it's a really good tune. I'm really pleased that the people like it, but I don't think we quite got it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Cadet Opal is in a really weird time signature, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't even remember what the time signature is. It's basically me and Stuart staring at each other. That's what the time signature is.
But when I had that was another one that we had in, for a long time. We had that
very long time.
And when I first had that riff, I think we were in that weird rehearsal room. Do you remember with those dogs?
Do, yeah. Yeah.
There was this really weird rehearsal room, and there's this bloke with this massive dog. So it's quite scary. And we had this riff, and I was thinking like Swans.
Yeah.
Remember we were trying to do and we thought if we did this really epic track, and those Swans track that builds up with the percussion and they have this repetitive riff, and then we failed to do that.
Yeah.
And then we just kept messing about that riff, and then eventually we had that thing what we've got now, with the and I still actually really like Cadet Opal. I think it's really cool. I like it because it's there's a lot of sort of big riffy songs on the album, and I think to have something, I like having something that's different, something that's, I think one of the things we probably fall down for in people's eyes is that our records, people like to stick on an album a lot of the time and then it's just all the same.
Yeah.
Whereas the records, listen, like I say, you listen to a lot of these, like I say, modern pop and hip hop records. It's basically the same song over and over again. With, like the Billie Eilish album. It's a really good album.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can pretty much put the needle down anywhere and it's got a similar sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Not melodies, and the production, the melodies are really cool and really imaginative. But the actual feel of it is quite similar, isn't it?
Yes, it's absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And whereas if we're doing like a fifth, I'd like to try and make it so each track's its own little story, and hopefully it's sort of. But I like that thing that Cadet Opal is one thing, and then it goes into verbose.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you're into the sort of fuzzy riffing again, and I think it's good to have a track that creates the illusion of variation.
Very, very, very much so. My memory of Cadet Opal is that we were trying to play around with it in the rehearsal room, and unfortunately, being at those particular rehearsals, 2 guitars, bass and drums, it was very hard to play that riff, that repetitive riff. We could get a bass and drum groove going, quite easily, but as soon as you put any guitars over the top, it just instantly started sounding like King Crimson, which not a bad thing, not a bad thing at all. But then I think we tried loads of different ways, didn't we? And I remember myself and you, we came with about 4 or 5 different demos of it. And in the end, we just went, we've got the melody over the top, we've got this kind of, Stuart did an amazing, that is a complete take that Stuart plays there. There's no editing on that done at all. And just that way he just flips the beat on the bars, I absolutely adore that. That's amazing. And it just gives that slightly disorienting feel. And then I'm not actually playing bass on that, that's synth bass. And
I'm on keyboards.
You're on the keyboards. And then Steve had come in with those guitar chords. And then we just went, let's just let this be this.
Yeah, Steve's our secret weapon, you see. He comes up with all the interesting parts that I wouldn't have thought of.
If in doubt, get Steve on it.
But I'm still pleased that I like that one. I think that's quite cool. What's that weird Stranglers song? There's always a really weird Stranglers song that's a bit like that.
I don't know that one.
There's got a few really... Stranglers used to do these really psychedelic, weird keyboard instrumentals as well, and I quite like that sort of thing. So I like that sort of idea, having a track in the middle of the album that's a bit different. And I think, the palette cleanser is something we've done before on records, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and as you say,
the ambient weren't all the weird weren't all.
Yeah.
I like all that. So so what's next? Verbose.
Into Verbose, which has again become quite a live favourite.
Yeah, another one's a big riffer. I like Verbose. It's got that fuzzy. So that's another one. St Vincent was the that fuzzy guitar sound, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We worked quite a while to get that guitar sound, didn't we? Just really, you went through about 3 or 4 different fuzz pedals, I believe, to just get that really nice sound.
I've got it by the side of me. I shall read out what it is. I won't remember. It's the Electro Faustus Guitar Disruptor.
That's it.
Which is one of my favourite. I mean, it's an unusable pedal. I mean, you can't do much with it, to be honest. But if you want that sound, and that sound is a horrible on the edge of breaking octave fuzz, gated octave fuzz, it's the best pedal in the world for that sound.
Exactly.
But it's completely useless for anything else.
And that also features, talking effects pedals, Steve's part on the him when he's doing his Ed O'Brien bit. That's Steve going through tons of delay, and also the count to 5, which is an amazing pedal. Yeah. I can't even explain what it does.
Well, the count to 5 was lent to me, by my mate John Sullivan. Yeah. And he basically gave us his pedal. I mean, we used it all over. We used it a lot on bass, didn't you?
We did, yeah. And that
used it in all different places.
Yeah, that and the Old Blood Noise Endeavour's Dark Star reverb pedal, which you brought, and then I brought off you.
Well, yeah, I never, because I had the Eventide by then. I could get all those sounds anyway. Those sort of complex reverbs. You don't really need 2 pedals that are going to do those. I mean, the sounds are very similar. But yeah, the Old Blood, that's a great pedal as well, because it's got that hold feature on it as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's great fun. So yeah, we basically just chucked loads of pedals on when Steve was playing, and then I think it might have been both of us, Matt. Maybe it was myself and you. We were manipulating the pedals while Steve was playing. So that's where you get those really nice little trails going off into the ether. And then the big Melvin's riff.
At the end, I love that bit. That's my favourite bit of the set. To me, playing live, I'd be happy just to play big riffs all night, to be honest.
Of course, yeah.
Get my head down and then play it. And I'll get to do a little guitar solo at the end as well.
Exactly.
That's quite good. Don't let me do that.
That's another one as well. On the record, at the end there on the big riff, I got you to calm down with the guitar. I put my
You can't stop me live, though.
Yeah, but live, I can't stop it. I can't get over to unplug.
Can't stop me live. But we can. You did then.
So if anybody wants to see Matt shred, just wait for Verbose and you'll get...
Go and watch it live.
And again, interesting with the drum sounds on that one, those sort of like bridge parts and all that, that's actually double track drums. The drum sound changes quite drastically between the verses, the bridges, and the big riffs and all this kind of stuff. And just little things like, we really worked on the tempos and things like that to make sure... Because the bass is a lot slower than what we play it live. But I think in the studio, I wanted to do that just to make sure that it really, we could get all the intricacies in, all the details were visible, as it were, So we worked quite a long time on making sure the tempo was right.
So 48K, which is Acid Rain meets St Vincent, as we said earlier.
Which is a meeting we'd all love to see. Acid Rain, sitting down, having a cup of tea with St Vincent. If anybody can make that happen, let's do it.
I did send it to HM Acid Rain.
Did you?
And I did, yeah. I sent it to him and I said to him, look, we're really big fans. Yeah. And he was like, oh yeah. And he just sent me a message just said, Goddess. Because if you Goddess, it's like,
amazing.
But because my mate Chris McGarrell knows him, so and to be honest, like I've met a lot of when I was a kid, Acid Rain. You remember I used to play that Acid Rain? the EP all the time.
Yeah.
You know, if you used to come to my house when I was about 14, 15, 16, Acid Rain Moshkinstein was you know. No wonder we weren't the cool kids, but Acid Rain Moshkinstein was a big album for me.
Yeah.
And so that's it. That did that comes from that. So
and the bass line I put with that, I was thinking of Billy Gould, Faith No More.
Yeah. Well, that's that late 80s, early 90s thrash funk. Thrash funk. That's where the cutting edge is. Thrash funk. Who's that other one? Atom Seed.
Atom Seed.
I didn't like them. They weren't very good. But I like Acid Rain. Acid Rain were cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, no, we love Faith No More.
That's still really good fun to play live. 48K. It's just such a weird little song.
You know now that someone from Atom Seed is going to hear this, aren't they? And you're going to get a message from that bloke from Atom Seed.
I hope so.
I put one. I remember I tweeted years ago something about llama farmers.
Oh yeah, because we supported them, didn't we?
Yeah, and the dude from Llama Farmers came back to me.
Wow.
So it was one of those learning moments, like, we're probably best not say anything about anybody, even though they probably, Atom Seed, I'm sure, split up 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And no one's heard of them since. But I'm sure, even though there's not many people listening to this, podcast thing, I'm sure, though, in my luck, there's someone.
It's always ways.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm Dave from Atom Seed.
Yeah.
I'm going to smash your face in. I'm going to find you.
I remember quite a while back, somebody posted something somewhere. A friend of ours posted a Censor, if anybody remembers Censor.
I used to love them.
Who were basically like a rap metal band. I think they might have predated Rage. I'm not sure, but anyway,
definitely the same time.
Yeah.
I mean,
check out.
You had
Censor,
Rage, you had Anthrax, and then you had that. What was that soundtrack album, Kev?
Judgment Night,
and that was a really exciting time because there's those guitar bands mixing with the hip hop guys. It's really cool.
Yeah, but somebody tweeted Censor were playing at a festival or something, and somebody went, "Oh, Censor reformed," and the guy from Censor immediately tweeted, "We never split up." She's just like, "Oh, this is awkward."
been a bit quiet though, lads.
Exactly.
But I love some of those Censor. The Censor EP. There's they did that Public Enemy cover, didn't they?
Yeah.
Awesome. Really great.
Really good. Yeah, live. They're
their
amazing.
guitarist. I thought their guitar player was really cool. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like part Osrix, part James Hetfield.
Yeah,
he's a really great guitar player. I think he's really cool.
We actually missed them, didn't we? Because they played at one of the one of the festivals we played at. They played the night before us. I'd
love to know who their guitarist was because he was a really great guitar player. They had a few really great tracks, and I like the whole idea of mixing space rock and thrash metal. I thought that was because I remember when I was a kid, I was into Osrix and I was into like Acid Rain and stuff. So it's like it really appealed to me. That did. I remember there's an Osrix track that's got a thrash riff on it as well. I have to ask Chris McGarrell which one it is. He'll know. But,
the Oracle.
But there's one that's got a massive thrash riff in it, which is really cool. We've gone off on a tangent.
Yeah, but back on track. The final parts, Matt. The final tracks on the album. The final parts.
So the idea with this was they got the chord sequence from the first one, sort of echoed in it, and then we had the intro riff. I mean, this was another one that came together. It took ages to get together, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And we were messing about with the arrangement.
Yeah.
And then the part 8 bit, where it comes in, where it goes into that Pink Floyd bit, it's got the chords that are very similar to the chords at the start of part 1. So it takes you back to the start of where we started the band and that.
Yeah.
We just had that big sort of thrashy riff, didn't we? So it's got a Voivody sort of riff.
Yeah.
And it's got a sort of John Barry sort of, when I was sort of thinking in DJ Shadow in the middle.
Yeah.
It's got a DJ Shadow sort of feel. And then it goes into the Floydy bit. And I remember when I was doing the piano parts, and I was quite pleased with the piano parts and that.
Yeah, that was at Strongman, wasn't it? You just went in the room and had a go at it, didn't you?
Well, the night before, I worked out all the inversions for C sharp minor, and then I just played them over the thing. It was, that
turned out nice.
They're not the. Yeah, I was quite pleased. And then we had the Dave Smith synthesizer.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of went with it. The end section's very, very
Floyd, isn't it? Very Floyd, yeah.
Unashamedly so. And the preset we actually use on the Dave Smith that fades in is actually called Shine On.
It's got. I mean, but we love, unashamedly love Pink Floyd, and love Meddle through to Animals is fantastic. And even some of the bits of either side of it. And and I like the psychedelic singles as well, but there's that I do really love 70s Floyd. I love Animals. I love Meddle. I love Dark Side.
Yeah,
it's a cliche to say you love those. Wish You Were Here to say you love those records, but they're brilliant records, and I can't see anyone could sort of say they're not.
I think as well on this album, the part 8 was definitely the part that I personally enjoyed recording and mixing the most, because I think it was after everything that had sort of gone on before in the album, it was just this part where we were all very comfortable with what we were playing, and I hope you can tell that we're a band that have been playing together for quite a while, because it's everybody's kind of like working together. There's no riff. It's just everybody's kind of like doing their thing, and everything builds up. And some of Stuart's best drumming, I think, on the end of that as well. And it just kind of all fits together really nicely. And then we do a massive Doom riff at the end.
Oh yeah, I like that riff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's one of my favourite songs to play live as well. I've always really enjoyed playing that one.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Again, like I say, we're not playing, Wembley Stadium or anything like that, but we are, we're not playing pubs quite as much as we used to. And a track like that, when it comes out of part 7, and there's like a wash of psychedelic noise, and then the bass line comes back in, and 9 times out of 10, the audience really go with it. They really kind of like, you can feel them sort of like they go down, and then, as Matt comes back in, and then the drums come back in, and Steve comes in, and everything starts moving, you can feel people going with you, and that's fantastic. And it's just on a bigger stage, you have the space to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was a really cool thing to do, and I'm really pleased. I think that's a really nice way to finish it, wasn't it? And I think if we hadn't, you never know when you make a record. I think every time I do one, I think it might be the last one I ever get to do. You never know, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think if that had been the last thing we'd done, I would have been really happy with that. Yeah. I think it's I think there was the element of trying to sort of tie all the ends together, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a really, and so we got it all done. And our friends at Bad Elephant, thanks David, thanks Martin, thanks everybody, thanks to Mark Buckingham for the amazing art.
Yeah,
and also that it was one of our first album to come out on vinyl.
Yes.
And we were very pleased that everyone bought the vinyl, and we did well on the CD. And it was a really we got really good reviews. Prog Magazine did a big sort of feature on it. It got really good feedback from everybody.
Yeah. And
then we did the album release shows. And then perhaps we'll end the episode there, because things went a bit weird after that, didn't they?
They did, yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
Because, I think, we made this album, we were really pleased with it. And I think then it was a week after that I got really ill. So
things kind of changed.
I think that'll be the next episode. So are we done, Kev?
I think we're done, mate. I think we've waffled on for enough. I think as always, if anybody has any other questions or anything they'd like to ask us, just let us know. Let's sign off, Matt. What's the password this time?
Okay, well, I just want to say as well, thanks to everyone who bought that record, because I really felt we had a lot of support on that one.
Yeah, really did.
And I was really grateful to everybody, who bought it, and Bad Elephant guys for supporting us, and all the press guys, and everybody. I think it couldn't have gone better, really.
No.
And for an instrumental band doing weird music, and we were really lucky. So I am, thinking back to it, makes me feel quite warm inside how well it was received. It makes me feel really nice. So that's really cool. So thank you. The password. Go into the comments, and I reckon to say you've completed this odyssey is Larry Grayson.
Larry Grayson. There you go. Not Larry Graham.
There we go. So I just want to see loads of Larry Grayson in the comments. What?
There we go. Larry Grayson, the bass player for Sly and the Family Stone.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Ta-da.
Take care. Bye.